Okay, guys, we're back. And I bet you're already bored with simple lighting and simple objects, right? I know. It's simple, it's easy, but you really have to have that down before you move on. So we're going to keep with that same pattern right now, doing a simple one light source, but this time a little bit more complex of a shape. And what do I have in front of me? Well, as you can see, faces, right? Some classic busts, not those types of busts. What we're going to do here is just do some basic shading, okay, and see where the light would fall from different lighting approaches. It's always good to practice on faces because we've got a lot of shapes going on faces. We've got the nose jutting out, often casts a shadow. We've got some sunken eye pockets. Obviously, the outline of the jaw. All of these things are really important when factoring in, right? So the first one we're going to look at here is a bit of an ambient light. Just it's kind of all around, and you see this when people are outside mostly. There's kind of just light everywhere, right? It's just a general light source that is not harsh, hard, and one directional. So what you'll see with this is, let's see if I can get this working a little bit. There we go. You'll see just a little bit under the jaw. You'll see a little bit in the cheekbone and lining this section here, for example. You'll see just a little bit maybe in the eye, under the brow. And then you'll see, as it flows and hangs into the hair and stuff, like everybody's got a different hairstyle, right? So that's not that important, but you'll see just a little bit and then behind in the back there and stuff, right? Let's see if that makes sense. Okay. So you'll see those main areas. And of course, you can come in, clean it up a little bit. The one thing that I like to do, especially when shading, sorry, I forgot the nose, just a little bit under the nose. One thing I like to do, especially when shading, is making sure that, like, let's say, for example, I can actually go over the entire eye, and it gives it this kind of form, right? And then as I erase away, there's still that form there, right? Okay, there we go. So nice and simple. You can come in a little bit more and get some grooves going on in the ear or something like that, right? But this isn't really that complex of a lighting situation. It's just this general bleh. That's kind of why I picked it to start, right? Okay, so we've got that. Let's go down to another one. Let's go to the 3/4 side. So let's say it's forward to our left a little bit. You can do one of a few things. Remember how I was talking about, like, kind of just shading everything in and then subtracting if you want? Why don't we do that? Okay. So we'll shade everything in and then just start subtracting. If the light's here, then we know that it's going to be coming here, right? It's coming from this side. Pretty much most of the left side is going to get some lighting to it, right? Okay. And we're going to have to get smaller here. The bridge of the nose is going to be lit. The lips, the chin, maybe some of the hair here, right? Maybe depending on the cheek shape, could be here. You know what? I erased a little bit too much on the nose there, but the cheek has got some there, right? Where else? Above the brow a little bit more, and might touch the hair just a little bit on this side, right? So you're kind of imagining where all the light is going to touch as it's coming from this forward left, okay? It might come, like I said, a little bit into lips here and stuff, and the nose. And of course, like I said before, you can come in and do the eyes a little bit, right? Okay, so that's forward left, the kind of 3/4. What's another one? straight above. Do we want to subtract? I kind of like subtracting. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think for me, subtracting is one of the easiest methods. So if you're working traditionally and you've got pencil, paper, that kind of stuff, shade in lightly and then come with the eraser and just start going at it. So, if it's coming from, we're going above here. I want the top down. So might as well start with the top here, do the hair up top, right? As it touches all these very cool curls and locks that this dude has, right? It's going to come not directly on the forehead because there's going to be a little bit of a cast shadow from these locks, right? So there's going to be that. Then it's going to come into the brow. We've got the brow there going on, right? We've got coming down into the nose and maybe just a little bit up into the brow here, right? We've got the cheeks. So it's good to know the planes of the face here, right? And this is good practice for that, actually, right? Okay, we've got the cheeks. We've got this part of the mouth, and there's going to be a little bit of a cast from we've got the top of the chin here, and depending on the size of the jaw, it could be like a manly jaw type of thing, right? And what you can do actually is once you've got this all in, you can start to blend a little bit, smooth it out a little bit, right? And how do you blend traditionally? Well, it depends what medium you're working with. You'll learn this in the other units that sometimes, a light hatch might do it for you. Sometimes a bunched up piece of paper or your finger might smudge. Again, it depends what kind of medium. So looking at this, I think I want to have the nose cast a little bit more of a shadow here, right? A little bit of light in the eyes. And then where's all this going to fall? Well, I'm going to show you with my select tool. If I'm looking at how the head is, that means that this is going to be covered by the chin, right? So what I might do instead would be something along these lines, just to show you what's going on here. There we go. So you can see how this hanging cast shadow comes down from the face, right? You can make it longer if you want. If you want to cast it down just a little bit more or something, it could be hanging further down. You could do a little bit of a highlight sometimes on the side here, right? But that is top down for the lighting. And I really hope you're practicing along with me, right? Let's see. If we got top down, why don't we go bottom up? This time we'll start with just this. And that means we're kind of going the opposite, right? So we're going to have shading in here, right? Shading all in the back here, where the light might not touch. Maybe shading on the top of the brow, right? Shading on the top of the chin. Shading in where the collarbone casts a bit of a shadow. And shading on the back here, right? Something along these lines. Okay, and then what we can do is come in, kind of clean it up. There's probably no shading there, but you know what? There would be shading right above this lip here, right? And maybe above the eye as well. Slightly there. Okay, and then you can come in and whatever tool you're using, start to clean up the parts that where you think the light would be touching. The light would be touching the hair that overhangs here, right? The light would be touching the bottom parts of the eye. Light would be touching the bottom part of this nose, the bottom part of this lip. Maybe down in here, the light would also be touching, right? And so what this is just getting used to the form of the face, right? The light might be touching a little bit on the cheek, depending how soft we want to make these cheeks and everything, right? And that bit of the brow, right? Cool. Maybe even the eyebrow here. And this is something that you kind of keep working back and forth and just saying, well, does it look how I want it to look, right? Does it give the effect? Maybe if it's too harsh, I want to blend it out a little bit or something, right? Maybe it's giving too harsh or too light of an effect. Maybe I want it softer. I want it harder. You can come in with a harder pencil or something, right? This is something you can experiment with a lot. Last one. Why don't we practice with this one? And you know what? I'm just going to fill it on in here. There we go. And I'm going to subtract, right? We're going to use that subtraction method. And let's say it's from behind. So that means the light is coming from behind. It's going to touch all the things that might be somewhat impacted. It's a very strong light from behind, okay? So you can have a bit of the cheek getting hit, right? Maybe up into here even. It's a really powerful light coming from behind. So it's wrapping on the sides here just a little bit. The neck. There we go. Okay, but you'll see that through the face, that light doesn't really touch much. It might touch a little bit on the neck, and there we go. Okay, guys, so looking at this now, they're starting to look more like three-dimensional forms instead of just flat, right? Understanding lighting gives form. That's the whole thing. That's what this entire course is about. Rendering will give form to whatever it is you're working on. If you're rendering it correctly, then that form becomes believable, right? You start doing it correctly and everybody's like, oh yeah, that looks exactly how I expected. That's actually something now, okay? So think about that. Before you get into rendering though, before you get into the techniques that are coming, understand this lighting, and this lighting will definitely help you make it more believable. So the first one, we've got this kind of ambient light, right? Second one, we've got front our left. Third one, we've got, what does that look like? An overhead, right? Fourth one down, as we come down, we've got the bottom lit, right? And then the last one here, bottom left, is actually lit from behind. All of these are ones you should be practicing. And if anything, I would print out this sheet a couple times and just work that light source from different angles. One light source. That's all we've got. But now we've got a more complex shape to play with. So print this out, keep working it, and when you're done, when you think you're ready,